dead. I could sit here and believe God all day and be like, hey, God, bless me with a record, whatever. And if I'm not out here hustling and putting in the work, God ain't moving on my behalf. It's like, son, that's not how it works. You have to do some things. You're going to have to do things that you're not, because there's going to be days where you're not going to want to get out of your bed.
Yeah, TikTok, I'm just rolling on the block. Marisa took me, heard that. Podcast show about to start. Heard that. You should know if entertainment is your goal. You're talking sports or travel, yo. This the hottest pod show. Heard that. She got the juice. Everything she says is truth. If you don't know, now you know. All you ever gotta say is heard that. Heard that. Heard that. Heard that. Heard that. Look, all you ever gotta say.
What's up, Heard That Nation? Listening in the United States and around the world, you are listening now to the Heard That with Marisa Tigney podcast. If you're watching right now on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you stay in the know of every new episode and every guest that I have on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a quadruple, if not more than that, threat when it comes into the music industry. He's a singer, rapper, dancer, producer, a multi-instrumentalist in the funk legend George Clinton's 420 Funk Mob. He's worked with various artists, should I say. I'm so excited to have him on. I can't even talk right. Well, Amy Winehouse, Rihanna, Alicia Keys, Bruno Mars, and so much more. When I tell you that his resume of music speaks for itself. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored to have Brooklyn's finest. Brooklyn, stand up for your boy. Right now, Planet12Law, welcome to the Heard That podcast.
Oh, man, that's the intro if I never heard one. Thank you so much. I'm humbled and I'm honored to be here. It's been a long time coming. You know, we've been in the realm of the short term, but it feels like a long time with you because we've known each other in the same circles. But thank you so much. I've made it here. I've been waiting to get on this show for the longest. So I appreciate you so much for just even having me here. Thank you.
I'm so glad that you said yes. I started a little backstory. I started following you and your journey when pretty much we were all on lockdown in 2020. And a wonderful, amazing person that I respect as far as teaching the music the way it should be taught, Christian James Hand, had, all day, right? The respect that I have for him. And he was on the show when I first started out in podcasting, and what he does with music and what he does with songs, he breaks them down step by step so that everybody gets their shine. And he teaches the elements of what the ears should be hearing instead of just what, you know, a song that passes by. And so he had always gave you a shout out. So I'm like, okay, he's got a cool name, Planet12Law. Like, who is this guy? Like, Law, let me check him out. And so I started following you on Instagram, and I'm like, man, okay, the energy that you give to every performance that you have, Law, like, it's unparalleled. I have such a profound respect for you because you'll have people that will have a concert, and then there's people that have a show. And literally yours, there's a difference, right? There's a show. Yours is a show. Like, you got people on their feet. The energy is unparalleled. Every footage that I've seen of you performing, rapping, singing, dancing, playing your instruments, we'll dive into that in a moment. I've not seen one person sit down because you be bringing it hard to the stage. I want you to talk about your background because you come from a rich, rich history of music. Like, literally, I think that pretty much you came out of the womb singing and dancing because who you're related to and who you're linked up by is absolutely remarkable. Talk about that and just let everybody know how your musical journey started.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the musical journey of Lawrence Taylor Worrell Jr., that's my full name, AKA LAW, then you have to talk about my incredible legendary family, the Taylors and the Worrells as well. So the thing is that the first rock star rebel of our family, the patriarch who's no longer with us, my incredible grandfather, the late, great Sam Bluesman Taylor, known for his work with Otis Redding, his best friend, Joey D. and the Starlighters, Etta James, band leader, guitar player, songwriter, and then, of course, he's mostly known in the funk music and hip-hop department because of his work with BT Express, Do It Till You're Satisfied, and Peace Pipe. You know, he wrote those songs and played on them. And, you know, the song that he wrote for BT Express, Everything That's Good to You Ain't Always Good For You, contains one of the deadliest guitar riffs in the history of funk R&B. And how do I know this? Because DMX, EPMD, Jay-Z, they all sampled that one record that my grandfather wrote that was never a single for BT Express. but became popular thanks to sampling. So my granddad is the ultimate teacher of all of us. My mother, Sandra Taylor, first place Apollo Theater winner back in '88. My legendary uncle, Bobby Real Deal Taylor, known for his 13 wins at the Apollo so much that they had to retire him off. And one of my more iconic cousins by the name, who y'all know is Cheryl Pepsi Riley from the Full Force Army. That's my blood cousin. So I grew up around the environment. My aunt Lois, I started off in her band, Eternity, before I started making my moves to work with the people who I would normally work with. My legendary gospel uncle, the Reverend Charles Taylor, who's Sissy Houston, Whitney Houston's mother, mentions my uncle in her book. So,
oh wow!
Yeah. So this is the realm I'm come from. So pretty much my family was my Juilliard for music. If that makes any sense. Every section
that's so good.
had a variety. Of course, my mother, I learned about the divas, Patty, Shaka, Aretha, Donna, Natalie Cole. The ones that we always talk about in arguments or in debates on who's better than who or who had this. And then, of course, but my mother was also like my grandmother, very heavy, because my first instinct musically, of course, I'm from the church. I'm gospel. I'm Baptist Pentecostal. So singing in church was normal for us. Tremaine Hawkins, the Winans, Clara Ward, Dixie Hummingbirds. I came up in the environment of the old Ship of Zion or Jesus on the Main Line. I grew up in that environment.
Right.
But, Jesus
rough side of the mountain.
Tell him what you want. Like, I'm from that environment. So the difference with us growing up in church was that my family, we were open to secular music. So as much as I love Shirley Caesar just as much as I love Patty Austin. You get what I'm saying? So for me, there were no barriers in our house. That's what made us from the average church family. There were no barriers. My older sister, Neffy, who's really my cousin, but she was more like an older sister to me. We were the only two Black kids in our class in California, but we listened to New Wave, the Go-Go's, the Romantics, Flock of Seagulls, all the 80s synthesizers, Human League, what's Karaman Juju that made that song Too Shy. Like we were into all that. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So I literally was in the whole environment. Everybody in my family has something I can learn from. My Uncle Bobby, who won 13 times, his whole thing was stylistics, all the groups, the dramatics, the falsettos, all the Motown stuff, the Stevies, the Marvin Gaye, the Lionel Richie, who would later become, one of my best friends, so it's kind of interesting. But long story short, that's to know me and to know why I am who I am to so many people, but it's Law, the musician, the singer, the rapper, the historian. It all comes from the fact that I had the advantage of having a pretty famous family that rooted me. They didn't force me into this way of life of music. I literally like it too. I love sports. My brother plays sports, but he loves music too. So the thing about this is that as much as I love sports, I didn't love it more than music. So.
Because you got that, that was so well said. You come from basically a Juilliard of music because of who you had and who you were surrounded by and all the incredible people that had influenced you. So from each of those people that had been in your life and then all the artists that you had mentioned, how did Law come together? Because you take a little bit of funk, which thank you, by the way, for keeping, I put you in the element and the realm of keeping funk alive, because many people think that funk is just Parliament and George Clinton and 8-track cassettes and then that's it. You know what I mean? I love me a good vinyl. I love me an 8-track cassette. If they came back, I'm from the one of the cassette tapes. I'm a 70s girl, you know what I'm saying? So everything, the music was bigger, it was louder, it was in your speakers.
Look,
CD.
I still
have my Sony Discman. My Sony Walkman.
Me too. I ain't sell none of my stuff.
None of my, because those people are like, oh my God, those are vintage. No, they're relevant as they are with all the technology and stuff. Because it reminds me of the roots of music and where it came from. And so people that are true fans of music and true connoisseurs of the history of it, you are that. And so how did Law, like you took bits of funk, soul, rap, jazz, and how did all of that form into the person that I am sitting before right now? And then part of the other question is, when did you start performing and you know, knowing, you know, once you had self-discovered who you are and your musical elements, when did you start, when your first performance was?
Okay, well, let's go to the first question. I mean, the combination of how the whole Planet12 concept began, because it had a lot to do with the coming of my name as well. Because first of all, shout out to my older brother, Casino Chip, a legend in his own right. You know, my older brother representing Marcy Projects as well. You know, the home of Sean Carter, Memphis Bleak, and the whole most of the Rockefeller guys outside of state property. Dash. So, you know, the thing is that I came at a very serious crossroads in my life only at the mere age of 10. Because keep in mind, all this music was happening. My first professional gig, I was actually 7 years old, because all these different influences, courtesy of my family, were coming together. So, of course, you know, without question, the Jacksons, Michael, of course, Marlon, all of them, all six brothers.
Yeah.
Prince, Stevie Wonder, Jimi Hendrix, James Brown. And even though those are all my first primary influences, the thing is that they were all adults. So even though, of course, as a 5-year-old kid, I'm loving this stuff and I'm watching it, it didn't make sense until these 5 guys from Roxbury, Boston came along by the name of
New Edition.
So seeing kids, even though they were older than me, but they dressed like me, they looked like me, they're from where I'm from. You know, that first part of Candy Girl where they walking down the train steps going like this, because that's me and my brothers. Like, that's literally how we looked.
Right.
And we would dance anywhere. And because we were all pop lockers and break dancers and shit like that, it really had a whole correspondence. So it made me even more excited. But what made it even more exciting for me, that was my first show. So when I actually went to go see them live, and they were doing covers in between all the original songs like Cool It Now, Mr. Telephone Man. Yeah. They would do Prince, I Would Die For You. So I'm just like, oh, shoot, they like Prince too. Because y'all remember at that time, there was a social war going on, because it was all like, who you like better, Michael, Prince? I'm like, I'm not comparing the two, because first of all, I learned from all of them. And at the end of the day, they're both disciples of James Brown. So at the end of the day, they all took a cue from that and put their own stamp on it. Yeah. So how I became that for me is because around that time, I had been doing a lot of talent shows, a lot of dance competitions, winning, whether it was singing and still singing in church, but then now I'm outside battling people rapping wise and stuff like that. So I would literally go from singing in church, and then as soon as church was over, my friends would be like, yo, Lord, this kid Jeremy wants to battle you. I'm like, what? Okay. And I would literally go from being a church kid to coming outside to have to battle somebody in a dance off or a rap off. So at the same time, I was still doing shows with my mother. I'm singing with my mother and my family now. I'm not even 12 yet. So on two opposite ends, I had on this left side, I had my peers. Yo, Lord, you a beast with that rap stuff. Blah, 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 blah. He said, yeah, you know, the singing thing I'm not really into like that. Because you know how it is, guys. I remember at that point, hip hop took over the landscape. And of course, me being part of that generation, it got a hold of me too. So my thing was just like, yeah, you can rap, but you know, the singing thing is kind of weird for me. On the flip side, my elders, my mothers and my aunties' friends, you know how they talk. You know how aunties talk. Yeah. You know, I do that singing and dancing, baby. I'm like, no, I ain't doing that rap stuff. That's kind of noise to me. But when you do the singing and dancing, you look just like Michael and James Brown himself. So at that point, I'm getting torn between two worlds. Yeah. And in the middle of all this chaos, there's my legendary uncle, Tony T. Funk Austin, who played for James Brown and Kool and the Gang. And that's how I discovered the realms of what we call funk. Because all they had was Commodores, Ozzy Brothers, Ohio Players, Cameo, Gap Band, Maze, Mars Day and the Time, Slave. You know what I mean? Like they had all the stuff that we know when it comes to funk music. Graham Central Station, Sly and the Family Stone. Like he had everything at that particular point that I was really slowly getting into. And of course, without question, definitely Earth, Wind, and Fire. And Parliament Funkadelic, which adds to the sauce. I'm gonna tell you how that all comes together. So now, on the flip side of all this, personality-wise, I was your normal, very eccentric, but still hood as hell kid. So for me, it was a balance of my worlds coming together with my love for Marvel Comics. Carl Sagan's my favorite writer. Star Trek and Star Wars was everything to me as a kid. So science fiction was my thing. I was already deep into that stuff. So here I am, approaching 11 years old. I'm in the thick of what I'm doing prime-wise. I'm getting all these different influences. And my uncle turned me on to jazz fusion. So now I'm getting into jazz now. Anita Baker's Ratchet album pretty much became the go-to jazz basics for anybody who didn't know about Miles Davis or Stanley Turrentine. Like that, it gave the opening. So I began doing my own research. And then plus, I live across the street from a public library. So anything that I didn't know about, any name that I just came across, oh, let me find out who this is. This is before computers, dog. Computers was here, but it wasn't as easy as it is today to find information. You had to go to the library
to research, to find
information. Because computers at that time, they were just built for games and a lot of this other stuff and So it became that. So then it hit me. My uncle Kevin always said, man, Law be on his own planet, man. He just planet. I never thought about it that way. 12 is my favorite number, and there's 12 notes in music. Not to mention that the letter L is the 12th letter in the alphabet. So here I am putting this all together. Yeah. And then I said, okay, we need acronyms. Because you got to remember, I said, how am I going to package this stuff? What could be a possible name for it? And then I discovered the Parliament Mothership Connection album, which featured a very skinny George Clinton in his prime on a UFO in outer space. But on the back of that album cover, he's in the hood. If you look, if you remember the album.
Yeah, okay.
The spaceship is in the hood.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. That's
tied it all together.
Wow. I'm out of this world musically, but don't get it twisted. Because you gotta remember, guys who are nerds or into NASA or into the whole science fiction space, Scientology thing or whatever case may be, they were considered weirdos. Now, I never have a problem with being a weirdo, but I had to let everybody know. Yes, I have my weird moments, but I'm still very much normal. I still love quarter waters and potato chips. And if you disrespect me, I will smack the shit out of you. Don't be stupid. I'm literally, I'm that guy. So that was a way of letting them know, because keep in mind, George Clinton is from Plainfield. They hope Gary Snyder, all the parliament members, the main parliament members that are not from Maryland or other places, the core of where parliament started was in the hood. Plainfield is the hood of New Jersey, besides East Orange and West Orange. That's all hood. So it made sense. Planet 12, Planet12Law. And then I said, okay, what's Law going to stand for? Because now we got Law. My brother was the first one to call me Law, not Lawrence. He would always say, yo, Law, come here. I'm like, okay, it's a cool name, but let's make it an acronym. Okay, lyrical assault weapon. Why is that? Because I never lost a rap battle. They used to be like, yo, that boy's a lyrical assault weapon. He just keep coming at you in tribute to my top 5 favorite MCs. Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, Rakim, and Redman, and did for good measure add Moni Love in it. You know, Moni Love is known for her rapid spitfire rhymes like Jaz-O, who taught Jay-Z. Same thing. So my thing was that I was known for my attack level of rap, and I never lost a rap battle because of it. So it's lyrical assault weapon. But I still love to sing. I kept on singing. So me singing, I figured in my mind, if I keep singing, I can do this because the girls like when I sung.
Right.
Girls like when I rap too, but the girls really like when I sang and dance. And I was already getting that kind of attention way before I got in the industry. So I use it to my advantage. I'm like, well, shoot, if they like the way I sing, then maybe I should sing that. So what? Yeah, Law, because, you know, you love all the girls. That's it. LAW, loving all women. That's my R&B side. Yeah. So then last but not least, Law. It's the first 3 letters of my name.
Your name.
So put that all together, and it's Planet12Law. And the rest is history. That's how it all.
Gosh, that is so profound, especially the gem you dropped out the back of the album of Parliament's album, and how all of that came with the Planet12Law. See, now I want to go and get the album and check it out, because I'm like,
I meditated.
While you was talking about that, I'm like going back and I'm going.
When I discovered, because you gotta remember, I'm gonna tell you why it's profound, because you gotta remember, I'm an 80s baby, 90s teenager. So keep in mind that by the time I started understanding music, the George Clinton that me and all my friends knew was just Atomic Dog. We didn't know about We didn't know about that stuff yet. Yeah. Now, of course, when I got with my uncle, and then I would go and travel to certain places where my mother was singing, the DJs would always play the older stuff that's a decade before me. So I didn't realize that the same guy that made Atomic Dog made Flashlight. I'm like, oh, it's the same people. The same reason why I thought Celebration and Ladies Night, I didn't realize he's the same guys that made Jungle Boogie and Can't Get Enough of That Funky Stuff. I'm like, oh, that's the same Cool in the Gang. So basically, nobody had to teach me. I put everything together mentally. I'm like, oh, so this is them before they had a lead singer. So J.T. Taylor came in and brought it in for my era. We brought the smoothness, that R&B, because the music styles were changing at that point, as we know. Funk was changing. It wasn't the same funk that we had known before. Now they was adding a lot of pop stuff to it. A lot of Funketeers didn't like it, but the new people that was getting into music, they loved it. So so Parliament Funkadelic for me, when I discovered the Mothership Connection album and the first Funkadelic album from the Westbound era, I put 2 and 2 together. Cause I'm just like, I meditated on that album. Make My Funk the P-Funk was my theme song for at least a good 5 months, because everything that George was saying, it got into my conscious. I'm like, when he said, I'm the Mothership Connection. We have returned to creating the pyramids. I'm like, that's deep. That's deep. Egyptology. You look at Earth, Wind, and Fire's album covers, they were always talking, Maurice White was always talking about our heritage and our culture to the Egyptian, to Egyptology and mysticism, and what the signs resonate on albums like All in All and I Am and stuff like that, because it was deeper than just the music. They were sending a message, whereas Parliament was all about the party. They were sending a message, but it wasn't in the realm of what Earth, Wind, and Fire was doing. George was all about being silly and being funny and just kind of dropping a gem in them every now and then, but everything was all about the funk. You know, I know what you can do. Let me lay some funk on you. Like, that's just, it was just like a whole vibe. So I got all of that from the album cover way before I even listened to the whole album. I'm like 11 or 12 at this time. So I'm starting to understand what Parliament Funkadelic was all about. And I told my mother, I looked at her at 13 years old. I said, Mom, one day I'm going to meet George Clinton. I'm going to join the P-Funk Army. And my mother really believed it. So of course, you know, stands the reason, some odd 15 something years later, my manifestation came true. So it goes to show you, even with that, that's another lesson learned in that gym, but also because I was able to analyze it for myself. And then once I analyzed it, all the OGs was like, yo, Tony, you bring your nephew around more often. He knows his stuff for 12 years old. So that's the whole reputation of being a historian. You know, that's why me and Questlove have so much in common, because pretty much, you know each other. It was more so like we grew up in the same kind of environment. You know, because you know, people don't realize Questlove's father is a legend too, doo-wop singer.
Yeah, so he had mentioned that. I remember him mentioning that on one of his lives, and I had me and Google have a tight relationship, because I'm like, he's related to who? And then I looked that up, and I'm like,
oh no, it's for real. It's for real.
Wow, absolutely deep. And so now, Law, you're out there and you are establishing yourself, and people are taking you seriously of your gift. Like, you're just not that person that just like, you'll pick up a guitar. I mean, you're multi-talented in so many different instruments. Like, I'm going through all of your videos that you post up, and I'm going, oh my gosh, what can he not play? Because you're just so talented. So how many instruments do you play? Are you self-taught? I mean, when you give your all in these instruments, it's like, there ain't no way this man was like somebody taught him. I mean, maybe just how to hold the instrument, but that's all you behind those instruments. Like, you can tell if somebody's had lessons and that, you know, they continue to practice with them. And you can tell that somebody taught themselves because they have an ear for sound. They tweak it up. They make it their own. And I mean, I see you as one of those people that you just made it be your own. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong when it goes to that stance.
You are absolutely correct. I'm definitely self-taught without question. But see, here's the thing you got to understand about being self-taught. Even when you're self-taught, you still got teachers. Because keep in mind, before any of my heroes, personally, they were teaching me. Like Lionel Richie could tell you the story I told him when he saw my brother in Vegas, and my older brother was like, you know, Mr. Rich, you got to understand, Lawrence used to wake up 9 o'clock in the morning trying to walk like you. Like, you know, Lionel got that video, baby. He always said that line. I call it the Lionel lean.
Yeah, he does.
And
the Lionel lean, that's so good.
and my brother my brother reminded Lionel that, you understand, Lionel, my brother was committed to walking like you, singing like you, you know, moving like you. So the thing is just that Lionel was way before me and him became close. Lionel was already teaching me. Same thing with New Kids on the Block. Jordan had this one thing that he would do on the step-by-step video, and his point game was always vicious. This is about as good as Velvet DeVoe's point game, but their point game is notorious. And the thing is, it's like, I learned all these things from my heroes way before I got close to them. So every self-taught musician or artist has teachers. Now, of course, in my personal circle, I mean, of course, my legendary grandfather, what couldn't I have not learned from him? You know, he's my first guitar hero. Way before Prince and Ernie Isley and Hendrix, way before I discovered them, my first guitar hero is my legendary grandfather. So, of course, when he wasn't traveling the world and he would come to New York, he would show me certain things. You know, like I said, well, trying to do this and that. But of course, he wasn't always around. So, of course, me being self-taught was always the main objective, because I'm a fast learner. I'm gonna take what you learned from me, what I learned from you, and I'm gonna apply it. That's why to this day I love watching other guitar players, because it's almost like whether they're younger than me or even older than me, because you pick up certain things. I love to hear tones. I love to hear the way they approach a solo, because you could always tell what their style is or what their upbringing might have been. Because every guitar player, there is no right or wrong way to play your instrument. Not even just guitar, but even drummers and bass players and keyboard players and stuff like that. So I literally got insight by learning. And then, of course, you know, when your grandfather is a blues, R&B, soul legend, celebrities come to your house. So, of course, I had the pleasure of meeting one of my other direct guitar heroes by the name of Albert Collins, the great Albert Collins, the master of the Telecaster, where Stevie Ray Vaughan and all those guys get their style from. So my thing is that, you know, Uncle Albert used to be in my house, and he's like, hey, Albert, just like you don't play with a pick either. I've been trying to get Mars to play. He said, yeah, Sam, I tell you, man, everybody don't play with a pick. Keep it going, youngster. So for me, at 12, 13 years old, to get that cosign from the legendary Albert Collins,
I mean, that had to be the highest. That had to be the highest compliment of the honor at 13.
It's the highest compliment. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is just that for me, it's always been a matter of making my teachers proud. So even the ones who I'm close to, even the ones who I haven't even met as of yet. So the thing is for me, it's an honor. Like we did a corporate gig and Paul McCartney joined us on stage. I tried everything in the world not to lose my cool. I'm like, and mind you, because he's my favorite Beatle. So for me, it was like, wow. And then he said, hey guys, can I sing with y'all? No, Paul, don't sing with us. We don't need you up here. And I had a 5-minute conversation, because, you know, as soon as he got on, they tried to whisk him away. We talked for like a good 5 minutes. And I had to let him know. I said, sir, Sgt. Pepper is another reason why I created Planet 12, because the whole color scheme behind the album, Lucy the Sky with Diamonds, and just the abstract way they went about doing their music after all the early stuff that they had did. It was on the psychedelic thing that they were doing. And I'm like, I want to bring that to hip hop too, as well as some of my other heroes in hip hop. So for me, once I met my heroes like Big Daddy Kane, who knew my uncle before we even knew each other. So my thing is like, for me, it's really about honoring your heroes. Grammys are cool, nominations are cool, you know, but nothing beats the adulation or the respect or the cosign I get from the men and the women who influence my singing, my rapping, my playing, and mainly because of the fact that I play everything except for horns. I can write horns, I can dictate what I want the horn players to play, but I have respect for all horn players because that requires a lot of breath that I'd rather use for my singing.
Right.
But everything else I pretty much play in addition to
and you're rapping. And you're rapping. Let's put some respect on your rapping, because you're good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's put some respect on your rapping. So you are, like I said, just as much a jack of all trades when it comes to your instrumental gifts. You sing, you rap. People are seeing your talents. The cool and amazing thing is that you had the honor and privilege of being one of the backup singers for the late, great Amy Winehouse that we lost way too soon. I will say this about Amy, is that she is one of those vocals that captured my attention when I heard Frank. And I didn't know just right? Because everybody's like, oh, Back to Black, you know, that was her first album and it came out. I'm like, no, you got to dig deep into the Rolodex of Amy Winehouse. She's got, you know, when I heard Frank, I was like, okay, she's got to have more music out. And this was before she dropped Back to Black in 2006. And I was looking all of her music up and some of the sessions that she had and the videos that she put up. And I'm like, whew, her vocals are out of this world. Because, you know, as you were talking a little bit about the Beatles, the British invasion, and that whole element that was going on for so many
You
years,
know,
because all these incredible British artists, I mean, they were literally legit. And her, in the element of her vocals, her stage presence, you being there and having the opportunity to be part of the backup singers. How did that connection take place, Law, when all of that happened? I mean, that had to be just a incredible moment for you.
well, to give that history, I mean, first and foremost, Amy Winehouse, rest in peace, my incredible little sis. I try not to get emotional when I talk about her because I was in the thick of when things were first starting to come underway for her in terms of her getting recognized and learning from a lot of that. But here's the thing, you know, when I first got to know Amy was through a friend of mine by the name of Al Street, incredible guitar player. We do a lot of corporate, as most of my fans know, I do a lot of corporate gigs in this US of A and all over the world. Right. And the thing about corporate gigs is that it brings you in line with some of the most incredible people who love music the way you do, but now we get to play these weddings and bar mitzvahs and all this different stuff, and we get to play all styles of music. It's a lot of education involved where we can literally go from singing rock and pop to like we would do Jewish music. So the crazy thing is that me and Al used to always hang out after the show, just talking music before we had to go back to our respective homes. So one day, a friend of his by the name of Neil Sugarman. Now that name might sound familiar to you if you know anything about the infamous, the incredible, the late great Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Dap Kings.
Interestingly enough, Sharon grew up with my uncle Tony, who I mentioned earlier. They grew up together in Fort Greene, in Brooklyn. See how it all connects? Wow. You would have never known. I would have never knew the history behind that. Right. So Neil Sugarman had a corporate party himself, but their lead singer bailed out on it. So Al Street recommended me to Neil and his guys. It's like, well, how much does Law know about James Brown? It's like, oh, you ain't seen Law perform. Law does the splits and everything. Like he knows that whole James thing. So I got hired for the gig. I killed it. And I gave them my cards. I had to leave. I couldn't really stay for the whole thing. I had to leave. I said, listen, guys, I love playing with y'all. Here's my card. If y'all ever need me for any gigs outside of what I'm doing, great. So about a month done passed. I get a phone call from this guy named Ray. For those who don't know, Ray Corsbit was Amy's manager. Say, hey, Law, how you doing, man? This is Ray. You know, I said, nice to meet you. He said, well, you may not know me, but I've heard a lot of incredible things about you, courtesy of my friends Al Street and some of the other guys. I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, oh, yeah. I said, well, listen, I have an offer for you. We have this artist, you know, her name is Amy Winehouse, and she's going to be making her American debut on David Letterman. And, you know, we've seen your work. We went to MySpace. Yes, MySpace. I still have my MySpace profile. It was like, we done seen your work. And you work with George Clinton too? I'm like, yes, I've been doing a lot of work with Enema Squad and 420 Front Mob, and I actually produced for George himself. So my thing is like, oh, wow. So I'm like, you know what? Well, let us know if you're interested. And I said, well, I'm gonna call you right back. Let me go and talk to my agent. Now I'm gonna keep it real with you. There was no damn agent. The reason why I told them that I had to give them, you know, give me time to think was because at that particular point in time, I was at the point of my career where I had to be very careful about who I sang background behind or who I played behind. Because at this point, Law, Planet 12, it became my ultimate marketing strategy. Remember, the record label were fronting on me, so I had to make myself a valuable commodity at that particular point. So when you make yourself a valuable independent commodity as an indie artist, you have to be careful about who and what you attach your name and your brand to. At that point, I had opened up for Shaka Khan, who's like family to me, you know, and I had worked with, I'm trying to think of who else I worked with at that point. Freddie Jackson, Melissa Morgan. I worked with some of the greats already. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know who this Amy Winehouse chick is, but let me do my research.
Yeah.
Of course, I go to my trusty computer, Amy Winehouse. And the first thing that came up was a song called Fuck Me Pumps from the Frank album.
Oh, yeah.
So I sat there, watched the video, and got her within the first 15 seconds. I said, hairdo, Ronnie Spector, the Ronettes, I Kid, the Beehive. Then the jazzy part of her voice. Very Dinah Washington, very Ella Fitzgerald. I hear that too. Then the beat behind the jazzy way that she's singing
while telling a story.
Yeah, while telling the story. It's not when you see the title Fuck Me Pumps, it's not what you think it is. It's really it's really a cautionary tale. So I'm getting Lauryn Hill vibes now at this point. Lauryn Hill, but then also I can tell she's a diehard hip hop head. Yep. I got all that within the 15 to 20 seconds of hearing her in that video. I picked up the phone immediately and called Ray back and said, yes, I will be glad to sing back up and dance. He said, yeah, we've seen your dance moves too. So, you know, the other guys got some choreography. So whatever you want to bring to the table choreography-wise, bring that with you too. And the rest is history. The guy, I'm still close to the band to this day. We're still, my boy, Xylon, shout out to Xylon, who's on tour right now in Dubai, doing great things. We have some great things that we're going to be planning to celebrate Amy for next year. That's my little brothers to this day. You know, we all got close with each other. And of course, David Letterman, I knew we were making history, but I didn't know to what extent until the 2 days after that thing aired. And it was almost like, wow, this is going to be one hell of a ride. Because what I want people to know about Amy is Amy knew her shit. She was not your average 24, 25. This girl knew her music. One of the greatest conversations I had with her was when we were doing the MTV Movie Awards. This is when us, Jay-Z, and Rihanna. So I'm living it up. You could tell how I feel. I found it. It was a mama I made it moment, definitely. I'm like, here I am on my own merit because I chose to support an artist who I thought was great and could lead the charge for artists, more artists like us. She was definitely that girl, you know, between her and definitely Bruno Mars a little bit later. Like, these are the artists who I knew, God forbid, if I don't attain that part of it, they're going to be the ones to keep that portal open for the guys and girls like myself. Like that part.
I like that you said, I like that what you said, Law, and that's so important because I'm going to have people in the on YouTube watch this as well as listening on all platforms on the podcast when you said that you took the time to do the research, because many of these artists out there, up and coming artists, want to jump into a project and don't do the research. They think, you know, automatically, ooh, dollar signs, get my foot in the door without doing the homework first. And see, you could be a talented artist, you could rap, you could sing, you could do whatever, do all those things. But if you don't take the time to do the research and find out what kind of contract you're signing and where you're putting your name at, I mean, you could be one of those artists that, you know, is either a one-hit wonder or a no-hit wonder because ain't nobody's going to hear about you because you're jumping into projects that you shouldn't be jumping in. So I think that was a valuable gem that you dropped about doing your research. And to make it even better, you were saying that you didn't have an agent at the time. You did have an agent. It was called your intuition.
Well, even more so, and it's add on my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because at the end of the day, you gotta remember, God can open doors that you can't open.
That's right.
I always
fully trust him. Yes.
Always say, do your best, and let God handle the rest, because the universe knows you can't cheat the grind. Another one of my favorite scriptures, because I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. One of the scriptures is also faith without works is dead. I can sit here and believe God all day and be like, hey, God, bless me with a record, whatever. And if I'm not out here hustling and putting in the work, God ain't moving on my behalf. He's like, son, this is not how it works. You have to do some things. You're going to have to do things that you're not, because there's going to be days where you're not going to want to get out of your bed and do shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's the other part of it that we don't talk about often, because anybody who's been following me for the last 15 years, and even longer than that, if you count all of the years going back to knowing my family, they can tell you, Law been putting in that work since he was like 7 to 8. We knew he was going to be something. We knew that he was going to make these moves in the industry and make things happen. But the thing is that you got to make things happen. God's going to do what he's going to do because he is that guy. Trust me, believe that. But you have to get out and put in the work to make these things happen. Because God's not no alakazam, here you go. Because before you know it, God's going to open a portal, and a lot of times you're going to be tried and tested. And if you don't know how to pass those simple tests, God can't even bless you until you even get away from certain people in your environment.
Because not everybody is supposed to be in your circle. Tell it,
and everybody's not there. So going back to what I said about Amy, is that I already knew, I felt it in my spirit, because Amy could have got anybody to sing backup behind her, but she chose me. You know, they brought my MySpace profile and all that stuff to their attention. It opened doors for me that no man can close. And once God opens the door, no man can close it. So for me, it was really about, okay, continue treating people right. That's the first thing, number one. Yeah. You being resilient. And then, like you just said before, to include on what you to impound on what you're saying. Study to show that self-approved. Because my thing was that even at 15, yeah, my roots are R&B, gospel, and funk and all those things. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But guess what? I didn't want to limit myself, because the minute I would have said I'm an R&B artist, I put myself in a box. Because now all they're gonna want to hear from me is R&B, 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 yeah. Yeah, don't get me wrong. That's my roots. I can sing R&B all day. Hello. But guess what? That's not all I do. And see, I learned my power in being a multifaceted person early. You know what I'm saying? I learned it early. Some people don't learn it until years later. I learned it early. I knew the power of me being able to jump on drums and guitar and be able to write my songs and produce without help and all that kind of stuff. Because even though I love Michael Jackson, my first primary hero, this is why Prince and Stevie Wonder became my ultimate top two. Because there is no genre personification to any of their catalogs. Right. Especially Stevie Wonder. True. Because that's Prince's hero. Yeah. So think about that for 1 second. Stevie Wonder can do a reggae song like Master Blaster Jammin', and then do an island pop song with a message like Pastime Paradise. And then turn right around and just get downright funky with I Wish or Superstition. Yeah. That's the kind, and then, no, here's a better one for you, since I know you're a Stevie fan. And then could just go straight classical and do Village Ghetto Land. Would you like to go with me? I'm like, and it's no bass, it's just a string ensemble. His voice. That blew my mind at 11 years old, even though that album was, the album came out when I was born. So I didn't know the thing. So the thing is that more so, that taught me very early. Don't put me in no box. I want to be able to do any style of music that speaks to my heart. Now, of course, I always tell fans, when fans buy my records, they know, of course, you're going to get the real hip hop. You're going to get the funk. The funk is going to always be present no matter what I do. Even if I do a whole message, the funk is going, like you said earlier, because that was a main part of my mission, because I felt like funk was only existing through hip hop samples and people kept forgetting. So thank God for groups like Mint Condition. Now you understand why Mint Condition, Tony, and Joe Public, and some of the other bands that came out, they were very vital to me. Because I got to see guys that were picking up instruments while everybody else is just running to a computer. So I'm like, well, what if we just do both? Why can't I just do both? You're right. So having that diversity gave me an edge over a lot of the people in my local music environment, because we would do these shows and they would do like your typical R&B stuff. Never Too Much by Luther Vandross, of course. Outstanding by the Gap Band. I'm just like, so what? Y'all don't do Poison by Velvet DeVoe? Y'all don't do Mamacita by Troop? And my thing is like, y'all leaving my generation out like we don't have a voice. Right. So I knew on that, me and my boys knew on that scene, we had to come with it. So basically, it's like, we're not just going to give you those songs. We're going to give you the original routines. Now you see when I dance the way I like we do, because we don't cheat it. We're not going to give you no whack. We ain't going to do the same whack ass moves every time. We're going to give you the video. We're going to make you feel like you're watching the video, because the whole point was that's what made those groups dope to us to begin with. So
and it's such a treat for the fans too, because you do post your videos on there, and it takes me back to a certain time. It's like, okay, he's showing, along with the people that are dancing with him, why I fell in love with R&B, why I fell in love with pop music, why I fell in love with rock, with jazz. And we talked about this before going on live, that you have new music coming out, and this is so exciting. So talk about the music you got coming out, because I know you're going to give the fans what they want for sure.
Well, funny that you said that last phrase you said, give the fans what they want. Well, here's a little doozy for you, not for you, but just in general.
Yeah.
This new album coming out in December called Humanity 101. This is my social political album. And anybody who's been following me long enough, I have my moments. As a son of a Black Panther mother, it is my obligation to always speak power to the truth and truth to the power. That part will never change about me. I'm as militant as it gets because I've never said I didn't love her. Oh, you hate America. I said, no. I love America. I just hate what it's built on. Because what we're going to do, we're not going to dilute the truth. We're not going to sweep the truth under the rug like they exist. So while y'all going along waving that flag, in the words of John Fogerty, I'm not the fortunate son. You dig what I'm saying? So for me, it's a difference in terms of doing that. Because I felt like during the pandemic, I'm watching the same stuff still happening. Marvin Gaye created the greatest R&B pop album of all time, which is What's Going On. Still relevant today. 40-something years later, in that song, Inner City Blues alone, the relevancy is there. What he said, crime is increasing, trigger happy policing. We're still dealing with it.
Yeah.
We're still dealing with it. 40, 50-something years later, Marvin was prophetic in that way. We're still doing with it. Bills pile up, sky high, send that boy off to die. It's still happening. Makes me want to holler the way they do my life. So I'm sitting home during the pandemic like everybody else. And I'm just like, you know what, Law? For the last 3 albums, you know, you do the same general, which is good, not boring general. I'm just saying you do the same pretty much standard. I love you, baby. Girl, be mine. You're sexy with your heels on. Then you spit lyrical fire, having good wordplay, showing how dope you are with words and hip hop stuff. It's time. Your 4th album should be an album that even some of your most respected fans are not expecting. So it usually began as an EP. It's going to be a 5-song thing. And then, of course, through the course of the year and a half, coming out the pandemic, even though we're still kind of dealing with it, the album wrote itself. It ended up being 10 songs. So this album is, especially how fitting on today, like a day on election day. One of the songs I have on my album is a song called Politicians Are Not God. So in this realm of me talking about, you know, the supremacy of our government and different things that probably some people don't want to hear. And a lot of my white fans, they're with me. They're like, we want to hear this time. We can't wait. So that made me feel good. So I said, okay, because here's the thing. Anybody that's known me long enough, this is not a hatred album. This is just a supreme thought in mind from the perspective of a Black man who gets along with everybody.
Right.
My people come first without question. Everybody knows that. But Humanity 101 is to give you the perspective of how I see the world and all of its changing factors on a social and political level. So I can promise you this album is not for the weak. We tell them the truth on this record. So if I told already 1 month, I said, listen, for those who ain't kind of feeling where I'm going with this record, from the first single that's out right now, America's Deception, I put it out a couple of months ago. It's doing really well for us. People, when I went to the New Kids on the Block cruise, some of my fans like, I love
Those videos were fire.
Those videos were crazy. And it's like, you know, to have my fans come up to me saying, I love America's Deception, that means they listen to the lyrics. I'm like, you see what the song is about. So that made me feel good in knowing that I don't give a damn if the squares don't understand. It ain't for you. It's not for people who are not mentally enslaved to this concept about political parties and how they feel we should subscribe to that. That's why I said politicians are not God, because the minute we stop subscribing to that BS is the minute that we will all see the definition of what humanity is that made this country great for a minute. Because in all honesty, America was never great from the start. It wasn't. So my thing is just that I'm here to kind of counter the bullshit rhetoric about what it means to be an American and what it means to speak to the heart of the issue, and while us as Black people are still dealing with these issues. So this album is definitely going to be very heavy, message-wise, lyrical-wise, but guess what? The funk is still there. The R&B is still there. There's going to be some jazz. I'm even doing spoken word on this record. So this is going to be one of definitely a deep album for me, for those who are ready to learn the truth through a musical introspective. So I can't wait for y'all to hear it. I mean, the first single's out right now. I'm releasing my second single the week after next. So, oh yeah.
See, if booked and busy was a person, that is definitely you. That is definitely you for sure.
That is amazing.
Last thing that I want to ask you, Law. We're in November. This year has gone by so fast. As you said, literally, we are still in a way in the pandemic. Like, just because we're out of 2020 and the world has opened up again, there's still some restrictions. There's still some cautions as far as everything that basically we can call it the new normal. 2023 is almost around the corner. I've asked this on my guests when I started this journey 2 years ago, and it was going into the new year. So I'm going to ask you, what is your hope for 2023?
Oh, that's easy. More love, more peace, more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding. That's for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a lot of ways, it shouldn't take natural disasters and epidemics to teach us how to love and respect one another. Mm-hmm. My motto has always been, you don't know anybody until you sit down and actually kick it with them. Mm-hmm. That's why this Kyrie Irving situation has me in an uproar with a lot of different things. And I'm not going to get into that here, but just to understand that now you got people judging other people based upon a documentary or a movie that can either speak about the origins of a person or where that. I said, listen, only a person that knows who they are should be able to define themselves. But once we get somebody who wasn't even meant to be a centerpiece in the situation, it becomes topsy-turvy. A lot of people have different, mind you, everybody has different opinions. Everybody has a right to their opinions. I'm not here to persuade anybody. But what I am going to say is that a lot of people are spewing in the form of hate against different people that they don't really know nothing about outside of what's been taught to them. And that could have been by the perspective of another person. So we don't even know if that person was even telling the truth about that person. Mm-hmm. We don't know.
Yeah.
Because you don't know that. I used to ask that question all the time. There was one time, I'm going to give you the story to kind of help you out. Watch this. This is my nephew. Now, my nephew, his auntie grew up, raised him as a, Muslim. And of course, I'm all for inclusiveness and everything else. Mm-hmm. So I remember we were in a car going to, I think we were going to Manhattan. And it was something being said. I think we had the 10-10 wins on or something like that. And then my nephew, he's only 15. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind. He's like, yeah, man, these Jews, man, I don't know about these. I can't stand it. And I looked at him like, really? He's like, yeah, man. He said, well, let me ask you a question. What don't you like about? No, I'm kidding. I'm like, what don't you like about Jews? Well, Uncle, just the, the whole this God epitome thing that some of these that I said, well, hit keyword. What'd you say? I said, well, which one is it? Is it all Jews or is it some Jews? Well, I can't. I said, let me stop you right there. Because he tried to deny, he couldn't really. I said, let me ask you another question. And I put this question actually on my Facebook, and very few people had answers. See, I'm the kind of person, if you're going to talk all this stuff about what our people need to do to unify, and I ask you a real question, you can't circle around it. It's either yes or no. Mm-hmm. Don't try to come with some other stuff and try to throw me off my course of what I ask you. When I speak, I'm a former school teacher. When I speak, I'm very clear and concise when I speak. Mm-hmm. So I asked them, I said, well, let me give you a scenario real quick. Let's say you were on a boat and your boat was fitting to drown. You didn't have long to be on this boat. And a ship passes by in that manner. Let's say you sit up for help, like with a flare gun, and you were able to get the attention of a ship or another person that happened to be in a speedboat, and they actually saw your flare gun or saw you. And they come by where your boat is, and they extend a hand to you, and they just happen to be Jewish. You mean to tell me that you're not going to take their hand to be rescued? Or are you going to sit, or are you going to stand on your ground and be like, I hate Jews so fucking much, I'd rather die with this boat? And I'm going to say it, if you pick number two, with all due respect, you got to be the most ignorant, stupid motherfucker on the face of this earth to do that, because what God was trying to show you is tolerance and acceptance. Mm-hmm. Because how would we feel? And mind you, us as Black people, we've always been set. It takes me back to that Trading Places movie, even though it's a movie, but of course, that part? I want to prove to you nothing's wrong with him. And what his brother said, of course there's something wrong with him. He's a Negro, probably been stealing since he could crawl. It's the same stereotype. So then when we turn around and do the same shit, it's not making that situation no better because we don't even know these people or know anything of a caliber of what's being done. So when you ask me about what I want to see more of, I want to see more people doing research, especially white people. I want to see more of my white fans research. That's why I mess with them. They know. They be like, hey, Lord, I looked up what you was talking about, and yo, see what I mean? They're not afraid to say, I didn't know. You understand what I'm saying? They're not afraid to say that. Same thing with most of my black folk, because it ain't just a white thing either, because there's a lot of art people that are very ignorant to a lot of things that they don't know about. So my thing is, that's why I said more knowledge, more education, more wisdom in part to kind of learn and to be accepting of each other and learn people's stories. It's harder for me because I've had some of my very best friends who I've worked with in the industry for 20 years and 30 years are Jewish. And if we talk about black, if we go to talk about a black versus white thing, I'm the first person to say, without question, I've been more done dirty in this business by my own other people I've worked with that were of other races of quality. That's why I always come with the same standard. I don't care if you're black or white, straight, gay, whatever your thing is, Greek, whatever. You respect me, I respect you. Period. If you have love for me, I have love for you. Shit, we can sit down and have a cup of coffee and actually have a real conversation about maybe certain things that you grew up with that I probably might not have no clue about. Two of my other Jewish friends, their grandmothers left Germany in fear of not being drafted for the Holocaust. You don't know a person's story. They left them no money, but yet we think all Jews are rich. See what I'm saying? But that's the stereotype. That's the whole mind concept of, we think these guys, I'm like, no, I mean, granted, there are some that are, and I'm like, and every Jew's not an asshole. It's like every black ain't no fucking thief. Every black ain't no fucking thug. So my thing is just that, how does that work? You know, a part of the problem is because we don't have a lot of understanding and we don't take the time to sit down. So when I gave that serious to my uncle, my nephew, he learned a lot that day. To this day, he still thanks me. Say, yo, uncle, thank you so much for kind of showing me, because I was getting caught up in the whole. I'm like, yeah, you got to remember. I said, you're still 15, nephew. You're going to meet all kind of people in this walk of life. Get out your circle. If you're in your circle too long, you ain't learning nothing. Because all you've seen is the same people. I got people in my old neighborhood that never left St. Mark's. Can you believe that? That never left the hood. And down south don't count, because everybody got family down south. Down south don't count. And Jersey don't count, because it's right next door to New York. So my thing is, I tell people all the time, travel and get to see the world and learn about people and cultures. Now, my thing is that if they disrespect you or you find something that you ain't really feeling and you don't like, then you speak on it. But other than that, find the information first. Then talk your shit. Don't just run after people because you're not agreeing with something that happened to an athlete or a celebrity, because we don't even know. No matter what's being spoken about or what's being said. And especially, I don't want to make too much of it about that situation, but that's just an example of what I want to see more of 2023. Is people starting to sit together and doing their research. That's why I made it very clear. Not just white people. I want some of my black folks to do their research too, because a lot of people just like to press on clickbaits and go to YouTube and get with a fake, I call them Facebook philosophers. They want to sit there all day and talk all this stuff. I'm like, did you even check where the credit's coming from? How are you going to sit here and diss a corporation ran by race? And then the thing is that the phone that you using right now, I can guarantee you that it ain't owned by no black. Unless you prove me wrong, it ain't owned by no black person. So my thing is that while you sitting there talking mess, you're not even in the advantage to say, you know what? Let me make sure that I'm learning more about this situation before running my mouth, because I'm sitting here trying to go against people, and you don't realize the same person you may work for, they may be a part of that family, and be like, you know what? I don't like what this person said. That's very disrespectful, because what you may not feel is disrespectful, maybe. We have freedom of speech. Everybody has freedom of speech, but guess what? Freedom of speech is also knowing that certain things don't have to be said. There's a lot of shit right now that I can say on social media right now that I have people like, damn, Lord, you said that? And mind you, you know that I'm pretty raw with it. I'm very raw, essentially, with a lot of stuff. But I'd be like, y'all should be afraid of what I don't say, because if I said some other stuff, y'all guys would probably be like, wow, that's pretty. But I'm not stupid. I'm not going to sit there because I'm like, well, first of all, even if it's my thought, I'm not going to sit there and use that as a platform to offend anybody. It's stupid and it's a waste of time. I'd rather speak about people coming together and learning and understanding one another and doing the education and knowledge on themselves. Knowledge itself is just about knowing who you are, where you come from, and where you're going. That's so anyway, powerful. That's what I want. That's what I want to see.
That was powerful. That was powerfully said. That was needed to be said. And like I have said to you before we came on there, your rawness, your realness, you tell it like it is. And I think that's where people respect you so much for. Tell everybody, because I want people to follow you on your social media. So drop those social media information so that people can follow you.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, on my Instagram and Twitter, it's at Planet12Law. And of course, on my Facebook, you can find me at Law Planet 12 or the Law and the Planet 12 Movement Facebook group page. But in my personal Facebook, of course, is facebook.com/Law Planet 12. There's my YouTube channel, as everybody knows, same thing, Law Planet 12. And also, of course, my music and albums are available on all platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, you name it. All you have to do is just type in L*A*W or Planet12Law, and those things will come right up.
Yeah, he's up there. Like I said, and we talked about his resume speaks for itself. This was a music masterclass, a mindful masterclass, a soulful masterclass. Law, fam, thank you so much. Thank you. I respect you to the highest degree when it comes to you, with your career, with your music, who you are, your intentions. You put so much good out there. That's why you have such a high core following, because people see that. People that are well known in this industry, in this music industry, see that. May your connections and these doors continue to open for you. Doors that you don't even know yet. Is going to be open for you. So I'm excited for you. I look forward to connecting with you again. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely. That's going to happen. I promise you. That's at some point. God don't make mistakes. And most of my fans that waited 12, 13 years to see me when we did the New Kids on the Block cruise, that's the fans. I was waiting to meet everybody. But I just want to meet those fans. Those are fans that have been rocking with me since I first got on Twitter, since 2008, 2009. So it was emotional for me to meet those people finally face to face. So I get you. So it's going to happen. God has a way of doing things that we can never understand. That's why I trust him and I don't never question him, you know?
So good. That's so good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching right now and listening right now. I appreciate it. And as I always end the show, take care, stay safe. We out of here.
Yes, we are.